Good morning. Oh, you can do better than that. Good morning. All right,
Remember, they're
thank
not
you.
supposed to respond, right? They ask us questions, they don't.
Well, first of all, let me thank all of you for coming. This press conference has been called by 3 committees, chairs. I'm Darrell Porter. I'm the senior member of the board, and I'm also the chair of the Community and Intergovernmental Relations. To my left is Jim Bowers. Jim Bowers is the chair of the Finance Committee. And to my right is Commissioner Domingo Garcia, who's also the chair of Quality Assurance. And we asked you to come here today, unfortunately, because we need to get the point across that this district is in a crisis right now. And it's in a crisis for several reasons. Most of you know through some of your media reporting to the public that we have been scrutinized by certain individuals in the community who have challenged the board's fiscal responsibility and other things as well. And because of that, we're holding this press conference today to try to clear up some of that. And why are we trying to do that? Is because now with this $13.6 million deficit that we have, and the fact that our spin-up didn't get passed, the $20 million spin-up didn't get passed, we know that we're going to be harming our children's education. And we feel that our children should have the best education that they can get, just as well as Buffalo and Syracuse and Yonkers and Utica, who were supported for the same $20 million spin-up. So to start off with, we have a 4-point plan that we're going to be presenting to our board members. And I want to start off with Mr. Domingo, who is the chair of Quality Assurance, first.
Good morning. I believe that the criticism level at the Rochester City School District finances is unfair, inaccurate, and political in nature. We understand that it is difficult to wipe away public perception about the district fiscal management, especially when our own state legislator is using that perception as an excuse not to support school aid spin-off funding, even though he has voted for other New York State cities to receive it without question. This is not new money. It is money that's already in the budget. It does not affect at all the new state budget. It is an advance. To bring this matter to rest, my colleagues and I will be making a recommendation to the full board that will request the New York State Comptroller's Office to conduct the full audit of the Rochester City School District finances. The resulting audit should include quantitative as well as qualitative analysis of the Rochester City School District financial condition, internal control, and budgeting processes. We will request that the fiscal relationship with the City of Rochester and the State of New York be also examined. We expect that recommendations, if any, that will improve our system will be welcome, and that will also improve our relationship with our funding sources. That would be welcome as well. This process should bring transparency to the Rochester City School District finances. It should also put the Rochester City School District on record to show that we do not fear public scrutiny. Our primary concern are our children. We want them to have the best education available. We want our employees to be able to know whether or not they're going to have a job in September. And we want our parents to know what programs their children will be receiving when school begins. Basically, we are in a crisis created by our own state legislators, and I think this community should know that we were targeted for whatever reason is beyond our knowledge.
Thank you, Commissioner Domingo. At this point in time, I'd like to ask Dr. Manny Rivera, Superintendent of Rochester Schools, to come up and talk about the second point.
Chair.
2 years ago, when I came here, we invested a great deal of time and effort into improving our financial systems. There was a report issued by Deloitte & Touche with a number of recommendations. We've invested a great deal of time and resources into implementing those recommendations. And I think it's important that we have an outside panel, a blue ribbon panel of experts, come in to look at our finances, our budgeting process, our budgeting practices, and for them to communicate the extent to which we've met these recommendations. So I look forward in the next 2 days, I'll be giving you details on that. In the meantime, it's back downstairs to looking at the $13 million plus that we will be advancing in terms of recommended cuts in the system. Thank you.
Now, the superintendent, because we are in the process of having to cut $13.6 million, needs to excuse himself to go back and work more with his staff to do those cuts. Channel 8's microphone is... Okay. What you've heard thus far is two parts of an important proposal that we're putting together as board members plus the superintendent. You've heard a call for a request from the state comptroller to conduct an audit that will go beyond what the comptroller traditionally does. And we've asked for a blue ribbon panel that will examine the district as well. That is Dr. Rivera's proposal. The third piece is also important because this district has maintained a record of fiscal responsibility in the management of its money, particularly in the last 2.5 years. Since I've joined this board, Manny Rivera's become superintendent and Henry Marini's been chief financial officer. And we do, as Mr. Garcia indicated, need to lay to rest those continuing perceptions, those wrong perceptions that we mismanage. It's always fair to question how we spend. That's a policy choice. That's a judgment choice. And we can always debate and discuss those. The charges of fiscal mismanagement have got to stop. And just because your favorite program didn't get funded or your favorite protege didn't get a contract, those things have to stop. So we have one more piece that we're going to be asking for, and it's really the next two pieces. We are requesting that Speaker of the Assembly, Shelley Silver, convene a meeting with the superintendent and appropriate board members and our local delegation, either here or in Albany or in New York, his New York office, which is ever most convenient for him, within the next 7 days. That would be August 23rd. And what we'd like the Speaker to do is, one, endorse the first two parts of the plan that you've heard of, the audit and the blue ribbon panel, and second, to see if we can get the Speaker to commit to a public vote on the spin-up money at the next session of the New York State Assembly. We make this request knowing how difficult it is for people to reconsider their past decisions, but we feel the crucial nature of this situation, and given the points that Mr. Garcia made about this is basically asking for equity, not something new, that we need to take this dramatic step to ask for a face-to-face meeting with the Speaker. So again, that is to ask Speaker Silver to convene a meeting with the superintendent, the appropriate board members, and the local assembly delegation, either here in Albany or in his New York office, for the purpose of getting him to endorse the first two components of this plan, plus to see if we can get a commitment to have a public vote on the spin-up money at the next meeting of the New York State Assembly. Mr. Porter?
Yes. Thank you. Commissioner Bowers, this plan that we have devised, we're going to be presenting and calling for a special board meeting for tomorrow night, Tuesday. We're expecting this board meeting to take place because of the approval of Commissioner Domingo Garcia and Commissioner Bowers and Commissioner Rob Brown, who is also the chair of the Policy Committee. That meeting will take place tomorrow night so that we can present this plan to our full board and get full endorsement. So I think I mean 5:30.
We still will have to designate the time. We're polling our board members as we speak to find out their availability.
Yeah, and we'll be getting that to you as soon as possible. Are there any questions?
Are you doing an end run around David Gant, trying to pass the ball over his head?
Given that we have said a request a meeting with the speaker and the local delegation, I don't see how anybody can see this as an end run. Mr. Gant is free to think what he wants, but we know what we're doing.
Yeah, this,
Sorry, board members targeting, in your comments when you talk about somebody targeting the district, specifically David Gant, or do you feel in general the state delegation is not, on the ball here in the program?
well, we've gotten support from some of the members of the state delegation, and we're confident that if this was put on the floor, that it would be voted in. No, our comments are directed to you and the community to let them know that we're in this serious crisis because we didn't get that spin-up money. And the reason why we didn't get the spin-up money, you have reported that yourself.
And please note, the only people who are bringing up David Gant's name at the moment are the reporters. We have not mentioned David Gant's name here.
Yeah.
Well, there's been a long pattern, and some frankly justified. I mean, I came onto the board as a critic of the district, and I've worked very hard over the last 2 years to help straighten out its finances. There is a perception problem out there about how this district operates. In the past, serious mistakes have been made. In 01-02, we had a $41 million mid-year deficit. Notice that hasn't happened in the last 2.5 years. And people need to let go of wrong perceptions, old perceptions, and begin to deal with fact. So there is, I think, a general sense, yes, some in the delegation share the perception of mismanagement more so than others. As Commissioner Porter has indicated, we've had strong support from Mr. Morelli and Susan John in particular, and Senator Robach, Senator Alisi. But yet there are other critics, and some are in high elected officials, some are in not-for-profits who do research on us, et cetera. But we're saying, as Dr. Rivera has said time and time again, our books are open, our budget is open, anybody can come in and look at it, it's online, and so we're saying we're going to go one step higher and say we're going to put this stuff to rest.
And,
That's the case, I was wondering what prompted this press conference and this four-point plan right now? A year ago, months ago, why now?
well, right now is because of the $20 million spin-up that was promised to us that's now being blocked. And the reason that is being, for the reasons that is being blocked, we're trying to clear the air. We're saying if you're blocking this money to us because you think that we're mismanaging the money, the only way to prove it to you, obviously you're not going to believe us, so the only way to prove it to you is to have the comptroller come down and go through our books and then come back to you and say, okay, then they're either clean or they're not. All right. But once we get a clean bill of sale, we expect for you to put that aside now, all right, because you don't have that argument anymore, and give our children the money that they deserve.
So the real problem is the perception of the district as a poor fiscal manager, not politics, not...
Well, nobody's saying it's not.
The immediate problem is you can get the spin up. The underlying problem is people think that you guys just basically don't...
No. What we're addressing is the fact that, of course, there's some politics out there that have to deal with that, all right? We can't deal with the politics piece of it if the people who have those concerns are not sitting down with us and trying to iron out those differences. But the other piece of it is, if it's personal, unless they're willing to sit down with us and try to resolve those issues, we can't deal with that. But as far as the fact that we're mismanaging the money, we can deal with that. Not only for them, we can deal with that for the whole community, because the whole community should know that the Rochester City School District is fiscally sound and knows how to educate their children. That is the question that needs to be answered and will be answered with the controller's report.
Right. If opposition is truly because of claims of mismanagement, this should put those to rest, pure and simple. We're saying, fine, we'll prove to you we don't mismanage money.
There's another aspect here that we ought to be concerned about, and that is that not receiving the spin-off money affects our children. It affects our employees, basically because if we don't get the money, there will be massive layoffs in the district. Very, very critical programs that are now being implemented in the schools might have to be eliminated. Parent participation programs might be at risk. And there's a whole number of issues that we have to deal with in terms of reducing the school budget so that we can deal with the system in a fiscal responsible manner. So the reasons why the money has been blocked supposedly is because the district is not managing its resources well. So let's put that to rest. We'll open up our books, have people check to see whether or not we are or we are not using our money well. And then the community can decide. But we are not afraid to have the controller come in and audit our records. We're not.
And one other thing I'd like to add, too. I mean, if this is all about fiscal mismanagement and the reason why the money is being blocked coming to Rochester, then explain to me why were no questions asked when Buffalo put the same spin-up on the table and got it voted in, when Syracuse put the same spin-up on the table and got it voted in, without question, when Utica got it, and without question, and had it passed, and when Yonkers got it, without question, and had it passed. Explain that to me, and so I can understand it. I don't understand that.
Well, do you believe that the delegation is satisfied that they're managing their money properly?
I think the delegation, quote, is satisfied that we're managing our money right.
I'm sorry, our delegation?
Our delegation. Obviously.
Have you been on the line to the controller's office and speaker's office with this guy? Did they give you any indication?
Let me answer.
Yeah, I heard.
They will, of course, we can't do that until the board votes on the proposal at the board meeting next Tuesday, tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Any other questions, or I think that probably pretty much does it?
I just want to add one last thing. The last thing I wanted to say is that we've cut critical programs to our school district for our children. We've shown success. Academic achievement is rising. Those programs that were helping it move along, we were expanding. Now we had to cut back, and some of those programs had to be cut out. We're at this point right now that this district and this board will not cut any more from our children if we don't have to. We will fight, scrape, and do whatever we have to do to make sure that our children don't lose any more than they've already lost.
Thank you, folks.